It's great. There we go. This guy, the guy right there, are you riding a bike, Alex?
No, it's Alex.
I'm supposed to be floating over here, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, so he reminded me that that you guys were meeting in person because I don't really like Zoom. I like being in person, but this is great. So I'm excited to be back. So thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Daniel.
Good to have you, Daniel.
Also coming back tonight, and we're so excited as well to have Paul Kemp with us. Paul, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Lee. I'm not a Zoom guy, so I took a Zoom vacation and now I'm back in person. But I also have a special reason for being here, and you'll hear more about her in a little bit. But I brought a guest tonight, Jubilee Bullock, and you'll be hearing Jubilee's story, which is quite fascinating, and what she has planned for the future. So it's good to see a lot of familiar faces and a few new faces, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. And as Paul just referenced, Jubilee Bullock is with us. Jubilee, stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jubilee Bullock, and I am here with Paul. He is my mentor for the Start Me program. I am starting a business called Jubilee Health Coaching. So I'm just here to talk about my business and to give a pitch to see how I can communicate better with everyone. Coaching.
Oh. Vicky sound good.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So everything's about food to John. He just knew he heard about cooking. No, I'm sorry, John. I'm picking on you. It is great to have all four of you as guests in our meeting, and we look forward to receiving applications from all four of you to join our club here in the near future. Haley's chuckling. You'll see, by the time this meeting is over, you're going to say, this is fabulous. I want to join. Tonight, we have a few changes to our agenda. So let me go over those before I dump this on Bearcat and I'll try to set up a little bit of success for as we go into it. So on the agenda, you will see that Haley is our first speaker. I mean, not Haley. Haley's not our first speaker. She took a deep breath. What? Jubilee is our first speaker. And I had given up my speaking role tonight so Jubilee could speak because I wanted to hear her.
Thank you.
And so she'll be our first speaker, and we'll introduce her a little bit more at that time. But also, if you look at the back of the agenda or further down the agenda, you will see that John Frey is listed as speaker number 3, but John Frey is no longer speaker number 3. That will be Lee Holiday, which means 5 to 7. Yes, 5 to 7 minutes, which means that Lee Holiday is doing an evaluation for Jubilee after he does a speech as speaker number 3, but I can do that. The question is, who's going to evaluate me? So Paul had already volunteered to evaluate John Frey, and when John could not do this tonight, because if you look on the screen, you'll see John is joining via his phone because his computer got glitchy on him, and he didn't want to do a speech using his phone. That just doesn't do well. So John stepped out of the speaker role, and I just want to make sure we have all the other roles covered. So we have our Toastmaster, Alex is our general evaluator, Cheryl's our grammarian, Greg is our timer, John Abercrombie. You know what? John, you're both an evaluator and the vote counter. Paul, no, not Paul. John Frey, will you step in as our vote counter for tonight so that John doesn't have to do 2 roles?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, sir. So for the people in the meeting, if you'll send your votes to, do you want to do that? Do you want me to do it?
Either way is fine.
Give your votes to Bernie, and he will communicate those to John Frey, who will be our vote counter. Thank you for your flexibility. looking over again, Mandy, John, looks like everybody is here. So good, great, awesome. Huh?
Can I ask a question?
Greg has a question. Yes, Greg.
Do you want me to time your speech?
Yes, our
Okay.
speech is going to be 5 to 7 minutes
Okay,
with a 2 to 3 minute question answer. So time to speech, and when she goes into the Q&A, time 2 to 3 minutes on the Q&A.
okay.
Get her started right. No free time on speaking.
Are these predetermined Q&A like with Bearcat's speech a few weeks ago, or is this like spontaneous?
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous. This
Okay.
is not managing a difficult audience.
Okay,
don't-
I want to have a question for you.
Oh, good question. Thank you. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce you to a gentleman who has proven himself invaluable to our club. Here is yet another member of our club that, even though distance now separates us by hundreds of miles, he still joins our club meeting every week and is our club secretary. Tonight, he'll be serving as our Toastmaster of the day. Please help me welcome the awesome Bearcat Culture.
Thank you, Lee, for that awesome introduction. Good evening, everyone, and fellow Toastmasters, and a lot of guests today. Welcome, and welcome back, Paul. I remember Paul from Toastmasters meetings through Zoom, I think a couple of times. Okay, today as a Toastmaster of the day, today's theme is personal development. Personal development or success at work. I used to think almost 2 years ago, I used to think success at work comes from hard work at work. Recently, I realized that if you hard work on yourself and not on your job, but on yourself, you will be more valuable, which means you will be more valuable at work. That was an interesting lesson for me. And I'm not just sharing you a theory. It has been tested and proven by me. It works, and it is still working. I hope that is the right path that will work for me in the future as well, because right now I'm doing my best on myself to get improved every day, every year, to be a better person. So far it's working for 2 years. Hopefully it will work more, and it will work for all of you if you're not already on that path. Today we have a wonderful evaluation team. So I'll move the meeting control to our general evaluator. He will introduce us, our evaluation team. Mr. Alex, take it away.
Thank you, Bearcat, and hi, folks. So good to see you guys. I was originally planning on being in person today, but then, as a few of you guys know, I had a COVID vacation last week, and today was my first day back in the office, so I did not want to take any chances and drive super duper far today. Without further ado, my job as general evaluator for today is to evaluate the meeting as a whole, let you know what went well, what we can work on, and then also introduce the rest of my team that's going to be introducing speakers, being a timer, vote counter, and grammarian. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to the grammarian, Madam Cheryl Ludford. Cheryl, take it away.
Great, thank you very much, Alex, and good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to see all of the guests. Hello, Paul and Daniel and Jubilee and Haley, welcome. And as Alex mentioned, I'm the grammarian, And the word for this evening that I've chosen is sanguine. It's an adjective that means optimistic, hopeful, or confident. And I'll use it in a sentence. I'm feeling very sanguine about the future of our Spartanburg Toastmasters Club with the return of some of our old members and the possibility of new members. I will also be listening carefully during the prepared speeches, the evaluations, and table topics. I will be listening for any crutch words such as, so, some of those filler words, and then any other creative words. I'll be looking for some creative words that you use in phrases, and then I will report at the end of the meeting. So thank you very much, and I'll return the control of the meeting back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'm as sanguine about the future of this club, just like you, as I am of my immune system after having COVID last week. So now we are on to our valuable Mr. Timer, Mr. Greg Allen. Take it away.
I will be serving as the timer this evening, so I will be timing all the speeches, table topics, and evaluations. For those that are speaking, you have 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, you'll see a green light come on. At 6 minutes, you'll see a yellow light. And at 7 minutes, you'll see a red light. Then you have 30 seconds to wrap up the speech. For evaluations, you have 2 to 3 minutes. So green at 2, yellow at 2.5, red at 3. Table topics, you have 1 to 2 minutes, green at 1, yellow at 1.5, red at 2. That's my role. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Greg. And now we have Mr. John Abercrombie, who is our vote counter for
That
folks.
changed to John Frey.
Oh, it's Tom Frey. That's what Tom Frey. All right, John.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Tonight, I will be serving as your vote counter. I will be collecting votes for our best speaker, best evaluator, and our best table topics. And at the end of the meeting, I will be presenting those. So look forward to hearing everybody tonight. I'll turn it back over to you, Alex.
Thank you, John. And now I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Bearcat Tolcha, who's going to be introducing our very decorated assortment of speakers today. Bearcat.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Okay, before moving into our speakers, I would like to share you one quote, which I have it in my wall. Actually, it's added recently. It says, I'm not sure the source. Whenever I got something, I'll put it in the wall if I want to keep an eye on it. So I don't have a source for it. It says, no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. I'm gonna say one more time. No one can make you feel inferior without your permission. With this, let's go to our first speaker. Our first speaker, Jubilee Block, is currently participating in the Start Me program for developing entrepreneurs. Her Start Me mentor is Paul Kam, an extraordinary Toastmaster who is returning as a member of our club. She is working on developing a new business as a holistic life coach and is also interested in becoming a member of Toastmasters. Tonight, she is practicing her 5 to 7 minute elevator pitch with 3 to 5 minutes of keyway. Let's all give an enthusiastic welcome to our guest speaker, Jubilee Block.
Thank you so much for having me. Like you said, what is your name? Bearcat? Bearcat.
Yep.
Thank you so much for introducing me. My name, like you said, is Jubilee Bullock, and I am wanting to start a health holistic life coaching. business. So first, before I begin, does anybody feel that they know someone that needs life coaching or may need it for themselves? Okay. Yeah, so let me start off with the story. And in my story, I want to begin with how I decided to become a life coach. One day I was laying in bed and I was wondering, what am I doing with my life? Why am I in this place? I was sad, I was upset, I was married, but my marriage was falling apart. I thought if I cooked right, if I cleaned right, if I took care of my man, everything was going to work out. But as lo and behold, every day that I was trying to do that, it became worse and worse. I became a people pleaser and I was trying to please him, and every day it would just get worse. And so I decided when I was in bed, you know what? I have to make a change in my life. I have to do something different because I can't live in this state. I had 2 daughters. I still have the 2 daughters. And I said, I can't do this just for them. I have to do more for them. I need to show them that there's more to life than just laying in bed, being upset and worrying about a marriage that's just going to fall apart. And so I decided on that day that it was time for me to step out and start something new. So I got a divorce. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm talking about when I say I got a divorce. I just said, you know what? I don't want to have to do this. I grew up in a family where divorce wasn't an option. We weren't supposed to get a divorce. You're supposed to work it out. You're supposed to work hard, communicate, get the marriage ready and done, but it didn't work out for me. So I said, you know what? To myself, I have to do something different. So I ended up getting a divorce. And at that point, things still didn't go right. I was still struggling because now I'm not married and I have to do this on my own. So I was a single mom taking care of 2 kids and trying to figure out my life. And I decided, you know what, I need some support. I need some help. So I ended up getting a life coach. And the life coach helped me, as we talked about today, about personal development, about self-esteem, about self-worth, about showing who you are, about taking ownership of your life. And that is exactly what I did. That wasn't the only thing I did. I ended up praying and asking God to be a part of my life and to continue to help me to be the person that I am today. And I also decided, you know what, there's more to this. I ended up starting with yoga and doing yoga. And in that, I found that I was able to breathe and open up and to meditate and be the person that I needed to be in class and to have community with the people around me. And it was awesome. And so through health coaching, through yoga, and then I said, you know what, I probably need to start eating right too. And so in my nutrition, I started to eat healthier. And as things happened, as I began to live my life, as I began to walk this journey, things started to become whole again for me in my life. I started to make decisions for who I was as a person. I started to believe in myself, and I decided if I can do this for me, I can help other women do this for them too. So I decided that I wanted to become a marriage and family therapist to help women just like me, women that were laying in their bed wondering what their next step was going to be, wondering what they were going to do when they were by themselves or felt depressed, when they thought that they were at the end of their road, but really they just needed to continue to have hope and believe in the life that there could be more for them. And so I decided to go back to school. And when I went back to school, that's where I found my purpose. That's where I found the love that I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to do for the people around me. And that's why I'm here today to share that. And that's a part of my business, is to be a holistic life coach where I help women not only with their mind, but with their body and with their soul. I am so glad that I get to share this message with you all. And I am grateful for this time that I get to share. I am excited about starting this new business. I am excited about being here with everyone today. And thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Joe. Wow, thank you for sharing us.
Bearcat, she's going to entertain 2 to 3 minutes of questions. No problem at all.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
How do you deal with pronouns? We've
Pronouns,
got so many different genders today,
we do have so many different genders.
and some people change them from day to day. Do you fire them on odd days and work with them on other days?
I work with all different pronouns. So if somebody says they are a he, they are a he to me too. If they say they are a they to me too. So in the therapy room, we're supposed to respect whatever a person decides they're going to be, whatever pronoun they decide they're going to be. It can be confusing because when I grew up, if I saw somebody that looked like a male, I automatically said he. And if I saw somebody that looked like a female, I automatically said she. So if somebody says a different pronoun, then I have to kind of make sure in my brain that I'm connecting with that person and respecting them in that way. But yes.
Right.
Daniel, yes.
Yeah, so I had a question. So would you say there was a turning point when you got the coach? I was interested to know how you ran into the coach that kind of got you on the right track.
Okay.
And then once she got you on the right track, was there a turning point, something that you could point to specifically where things started really clicking for you?
I should have said this in my story, I believe. And I was not just a mom, but I was a personal trainer. And as a personal trainer, I listened to a lot of stories. And so people would always tell me things that were going on. And I was able to give people advice or give people things to help them in their own life. And so it was just a transitional thing, a gift that I felt like I already had that I could just take to health coaching and to therapy. Yeah.
Great.
Yes, Alex.
Yes. Well, hey, first and foremost, I love your speech. I love what you're all about. I'm super pumped for you. My question is, who is your ideal client and why are they ideal for you?
Okay, so Alex, that's an easy question. My ideal client is someone that's like me. They don't have to be the same color as me, but they're like me as far as being a woman, a mom, somebody that had children or have children or around children, somebody that has gone through anxiety or depression, that's gone through a divorce. So a woman like me, a woman that's ready to make a change in her life, but just needs that extra push to keep going forward.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alex. Yes, Paul.
Question/comment. I think the ideal client that you just described probably represents about 85% of the population. Just once you said anxiety and depression.
Then all those. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jubilee. Sadly, when you say my ideal client is a woman, then I stop listening. I was also, that was an interesting question, Alex. I was also listening on the answer.
Sorry, I ruined it for you. I'll ask something different next time.
Oh, that was a great question. Okay. Let's take 1 minute to send our feedback for Jubilee. If you are in the office, you can share your notes. If you are on Zoom, I think we can use Bernie. I think Bernie is collecting the votes, right? So we can send it to Bernie and Bernie will give it. Okay, let's take 1 minute.
I think we're going the other way, Barricade. People in the studio here with us are going to get their votes to me, and I'll forward them over to John Frey.
He was talking about comments for you.
Oh, comments. Never mind.
Comments.
Fine, be that way.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Mhm.
Our next speaker will be discussing the heavy topic of mankind's ongoing battle of good versus evil from a pathway presentation mastery, researching and presenting, with the title Duality of Man, Randy Riddle.
Hello, Toastmasters and our wonderful guests. I am currently enrolled at Spartanburg Community College in a class of world religion. A topic that we discuss commonly every day is good versus evil. You have the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other, light and dark, good and evil. The symbol commonly used for this is called yin and yang. I'm sure everyone in here is comfortable with that. And in the yin and yang, you can see it represented with either a black and white circle. You can see that circle used with fish, a dragon, or even just the typical circle shape. Within that, the white space contains a black circle, and the black space contains a white circle. This is to represent the fact that within good is evil and within evil is good. A clinical psychologist that I happened upon on YouTube by the name of Jordan Peterson pointed out that for the world to be the way that it is, he believes, and I agree, that it is better that we have free will rather than evil being eradicated for the purpose of the best men or women that you know have the ability to be truly a monster, but they have the control within themselves to hold that back and use that instead for the good of themselves, personal development, and others. These people who can take the monster within themselves and turn it into good show and depict the common Native American tale of this good versus evil battle very well. Just in case anyone is not familiar with this story, there is a Native American tribe. They're living on the reserves, and one of the little boys in this town go to a public school where they get bullied constantly for their heritage, the color of their skin, whatever can be picked on about them. They come back to their granddad one day in tears, angry at the day that they've just had. And they ask their grandfather, what can I do about this? And the grandfather sits them down and he tells them the story of two wolves that live on the inside of every human being. You have the wolf of good and the wolf of evil. Both of these wolves are constantly at each other's throats, constantly trying to see who wins and who loses, who lives and who dies. And the boy asks his grandfather, well, at the end of the battle, who wins? The grandfather says, the one that you feed. See, today we talked about Hinduism in class. And Hinduism, along with Buddhism, believes in the concept of karma. You do good, good is done to you. If you do evil, you receive evil. In Christianity, we have a similar concept. There is a verse in the Bible that says that this isn't word for word, but what you sow, you shall reap. If you sow discord and strife and evil, you will reap discord, strife, and evil. If you sow greed, then you will receive, at the end of it all, poverty, pain, suffering. It is this constant battle that we find ourselves in situations where we blame others, or we bully people, or we even sometimes attack ourselves. we will bully ourselves into submission, telling ourselves that we are nothing, that we are just these tiny, insignificant little specks on a ball floating through space. And while at the big picture, if you zoom out, we are little specks on a ball floating through space, we are so much more than that. Because we have the opportunity to use our decisions and our choices to make our life on this big ball floating through infinite time and space a good one, as well as good for others. We can have a horrible outlook and look down on ourselves and everyone else and make life absolutely horrible. We can choose to make it hell on earth for everyone that we encounter, including ourselves, or we can take the more sanguine approach and make the world a better place, make people happier, their days brighter. Instead of waking up and abhorring the sunshine, they welcome it on their face and they go into the day. And because you have made their day better, maybe they can make someone else's day better. And so it passes it on. At the end of the day, I want to leave you all with a question. In the infinite battle of good and evil that every human on this planet faces, what can you do to feed one of the two wolves? Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Let's take 1 minute, Mr. Timer. Let's take 1 minute to send our feedback. While doing that, I'm going to share you one more thing about a 1 minute rule. Most of you might know this, but I recently discovered it like a year or so ago. Every time I try to do something, I'm the master procrastinator. So I have started looking for options or techniques to fix that. So I come across the 1 minute rule, which says roughly, whatever you want to do, think of it as a 1 minute task. And if in that 1 minute, if you are still bored after that 1 minute, you can stop it and let it go, or book it for some other time. But usually, once I start working on that task, it will be completed. All right, thank you, Mr. Timer. Our final speaker is in Persuasive Influence Paths, Level 2, Understanding Your Leadership Style project. This project helps him understand how his leadership style impacts the people around him and how he can adjust it to more effectively lead people with styles different from his own. In this 5 to 7 minute speech titled Connections, Bold, he will share some aspects of leadership. Let's all give a warm welcome to distinguished Toastmaster, past international director, and our club vice president of education, Lee Holiday.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our awesome guests that are with us today. Leadership can be a real challenge. A real challenge. One of the things that I thought as a young person, and I'm not a young person anymore, just in case you can't tell, one of the things I thought as a young person is all I have to do is tell people what they need to do and they'll do it, right? No, that doesn't work. And so as I went through life in my career, in my social organizations, in my Toastmasters clubs, I have had to learn that I need to understand what makes people tick to be able to appropriately and effectively lead them where we all need to go. And that is no easy task. Because I guarantee you, if we did a leadership assessment on each of the 7, 8, 9 of us sitting in this room and the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the screen, there would be 13 different variations on how you lead and how you accept leadership. So I need to understand what makes you tick to be an effective leader for a group that we might be in together. And how do you do that? How in the world do you do that? You know, some people come to a Toastmasters meeting and they get here in time for the meeting to start. They participate in different meeting roles and take part. And when the meeting's over, they hit the door and they're gone. And you see them again the next Monday, and it's the same thing over again. And Monday after Monday, they're here and they're gone. You know what's hard about that? It's hard to make a connection with a person that doesn't hang around for socializing a little bit. It's hard to really get into the heart and mind of knowing somebody without spending time talking with them and listening to them. Our first speaker talked about listening skills. We all need to have listening skills to be able to develop connections with each other. And that, my friends, is the title of my presentation tonight, Connections. For me to get to know Jubilee, I need to make a connection with her. For me to be able to identify with, and for her to identify with me, I need to have connections with Haley. We need to grow those connections over time and develop those connections such that when you as a leader or I as a leader step up and say, we have an opportunity to do something, we are more prone to be engaged in that because we have a connection. See, life is full of connections. Some of them are very poor. We find that some connections are easily broken because we haven't worked to build that connection, to build that friendship, to build that relationship. It takes time and effort to make that happen. We have to continue to work at it day after day, minute by minute, time infinitum. There is no easy task. There is no sanguine method to do that except to constantly work at improving the connection you have with all the many different people that you might be part of in life. When you build those connections, it works. Let me give you a quick example from my Toastmasters leadership career in the past. I had the opportunity, fabulous opportunity, to be the district governor for Toastmasters throughout the state of Georgia. At the time, it was District 14. It's now 2 districts, District 44 and 14, but at the time, the entire state of Georgia was District 14 with 300 plus clubs around the district and over 1,000 Toastmasters in our district. We had the opportunity to meet with the leaders from around Toastmasters in Georgia once a month. And we would have meetings, we'd talk about what we need to do and where we need to go. And after a couple months with that, I talked to a past district governor who had had a very successful year, had led the district to be President's Distinguished, one of only 6 President's Distinguished districts in the world. And I said, how did you do it? What made it work? I need to know what makes it work because I want to be the best I can be at being a district governor. He said, Lee, your leaders need to get to know each other. When they begin to know each other, they'll begin to work together to all accomplish the goals they want to what? So we had a district executive committee meeting in January, halfway through the year. And in January, rather than having a typical meeting where we handle business and stuff, I sent out a message. I said, I want all of you to come in here, and I want everybody in the district executive committee to give a 2 to 3 minute speech telling us about yourself, basically an abbreviated icebreaker. People came in and they talked about what was important to them. Some of that nobody else knew in the meeting until they had the opportunity to stand up and say, this is what's important to me. This is what I'm about. This is where I'm at in my life. From that moment forward, we started seeing a difference in how we related to each other. And rather than having to pull and push to get things done, and I'm serious about this, as district governor, I just sort of had to hang on because all of a sudden things just started flying. Not because of what I did, but because how they realized, hey, we're in this together. We can all do this together, because they made connections with each other. My friends, for success in life, for success in leadership, build those connections. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Lee. Okay, let's take 1 minute to send our comment to Lee. And I think
If you're online,
doing that,
comments online.
sorry. Okay.
I'm on Zoom, so you can send me comments on Zoom as well.
Yes, okay. Okay, while doing that, we can hear timers report.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Jubilee spoke for 5 minutes and 4 seconds. And her answer and question session was exactly 3 minutes. Randy spoke for exactly 6 minutes. And Bernie spoke for 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
I did.
I'm sorry, Lee.
You misheard you.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Greg. So now we can send our best speaker votes to John Frey, right? So all of us on Zoom, we can send to John Frey. The members in person, you can give it to Bernie, I think. Right? He'll send it to John. While doing that, I will move the control to our table topics master for today. Our table topics master is Bernie Holiday. Take it away, sir.
Thank you very much, Terry Barraquette. And how are y'all doing today?
Great.
Awesome. Very. Are we sanguine? Good. Let's get this crowd warm back up. Come on. All right. Oh, I'm cutting my own head off. There we go. All right. Get back up a little bit. All right. So the word of the day that Cheryl chose was sanguine. I thought that was very interesting because sanguine is one of those words that has an older meaning. You want to know about this? You do? Can you tell us what sanguine, the other meaning of sanguine?
No, I thought you said, do I want to know about this?
Oh, you do want to know about it. Okay, you want to know about it. Well, it used to be that the ancient Greeks described people's personalities as one of 4 humors. And those 4 humors were phlegm for reserved people, were black bile for melancholy people, yellow bile for aggressive people, And for friendly people, they chose blood. So when you describe a person as being bloody, what you're really describing is blood-filled cheeks, happy, smiling, vibrant. So that's how sanguine came to mean both optimistic and cheerful, and also blood red. So I have to ask, between being friendly, aggressive, melancholy, or reserved, what humor are you, Daniel Allison?
Thank you for that question, Bernie. It's a good one. You know, personality tests, personality profiles, I always feel like it depends on when I'm taking it. You know, what mood am I in? Am I in the picture here?
You can see
Okay.
yourself right there.
Oh, there you go. Good. So I think about what mood am I in? You know, if you take a personality profile, sometimes if you're in a bad mood, or maybe you're just going through a time in your life where there's some stress and consternation, maybe you answer differently. I would have to say that overall, though, what I focus on when I'm in my best place is I'm energetic. So I want to give energy to other people. And I'm also feel like I'm a good listener, and I love to ask questions. So those are the things that I focus on when I'm feeling my best. It's not about me. You know, I want to put that spotlight on someone else, find out who they are. And that's when I'm my most comfortable and I feel like I'm my best self. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. It is wonderful to have you back inside the building, back inside the Toastmasters meetings. I look forward to seeing you more in the future.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So these 4 secretions were called humors. And that is how we wound up with an older phrase that doesn't get tossed around that much anymore, of being of good humor. Doesn't mean you're laughing at everything. It just means you're of good humor, you're of good attitude. So what happens when you should maintain a good attitude, but everything's telling you not to? Can you tell us about a time when you had to maintain a sanguine attitude when you really, really didn't want to? Alex Dahlstrom.
Well, thank you, Bernie. I appreciate the question because I feel like that was, well, last week. So what happened was, to tell this story again, I told this to Daniel actually on Friday, but I was originally supposed to go to Key West next week or last week. And I had to take a COVID test right before it. And what ended up happening was I had these clients that I was doing a review meeting with, and they insisted on meeting in person, and they had COVID the week before. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, I haven't gotten sick at all the last 2 years. I'll be totally fine. So what ended up happening was I started getting some symptoms, and it was like I got hit by a truck Friday. Like I felt absolutely terrible, but knowing how I am, I usually bounce back and recover. So what ends up happening is I have to take that COVID test on Sunday, and it tests positive. And I was so mad because I was so excited to go to Key West, but I was insistent on being positive about it because I didn't want to be a whiner. So I ended up going back to see my parents and ended up being a light to them on an otherwise boring week for them. So at the end of the day, the lesson learned is when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade, make it Chick-fil-A lemonade, because who wants to get some crap out of a box when you could get it from its best source? And also, when you're talking about joy, why only settle for happiness when you can have joy? Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Alex. Had to go off screen for a second, realizing that you can't see those timing lights. So I had to give you some timing lights. All right. Now that we've seen how Table Topics works, I want to ask Haley, Jubilee, y'all game? Do you saying one? Not saying one? Haley's feeling a little reserved. Do you remember which humor was reserved? I'm not gonna bring it up because all the other humors are gross anyways. Jubilee, your game though?
Yeah.
All right. So how do you maintain that good humor when your first impulse is to abandon it? Paul Camp.
Thanks, Bernie. That's a great question. I think the trick is when you're feeling one way, but you want to present in a different way, you have to have self-awareness. And self-awareness comes from Bearcat personal development. And if you've been through a lot of personal development, you're able to take your own temperature. You know, you have social awareness about how you're feeling and what the room's like. And many times if you're feeling out of sorts, it's probably because you're tired. One, you might be tired, recognize that. Then second, fall back to your training. If you know you're grumpy, but you know you have to step up to the occasion and act a certain way, fall back on what you learned in your personal development. And what I'm talking about specifically is your emotional intelligence. Lean on your EQ. Understand the cues that are being presented and respond to them accordingly. For example, many times you might be feeling resentment for someone given a certain situation. And you can choose to act resentful, or you could go the other way. You could present love. And sometimes it's hard, but you have to stop, recognize what you're feeling resentment, and you make a decision at that point. Do I go to resentment or love? And if you always choose love, you'll be okay. And I think your outcome will be much more satisfactory. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. And just like I spoke to Daniel, it's very good to have you back in our meetings. Look forward to seeing you in the future. And welcome back, man. So we know now that maintaining humor is more than just a smile on a face. It's having that friendly attitude. It's remaining sanguine. And I'm driving Cheryl nuts right here, trying to mark all the times I'm saying sanguine, 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 sanguine. But could all this be wrong in some way? Is there a time when good humor isn't helpful at all? Jubilee?
I believe there's a time when humor is not always good. A bad joke can get you in trouble. So being sanguine, being optimistic can be a good thing. And wanting to make people laugh is one of those things that everybody wants to do. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people want to make other people like them and want them to be around them. But there's a such thing as some bad humor. And when I say bad humor, I mean being sarcastic. If we look back at the word of sarcastic, the root word for that is to cut. So sometimes being too sarcastic, you might be saying something in a way that sounds like it's a joke. I'm just joking, but you're being sarcastic and you're trying to cut the person down. So there's a difference between humor, making people laugh and having some good tasteful jokes, and being sarcastic, trying to cut somebody down with that little sly joke.
Thank you so much, Jubilee, for being willing to come up here a second time tonight and give us a table topics answer. Mr. Tyner, can we hear our times for our table topics this evening?
Absolutely. Thank you, Bernie. Daniel spoke for 57 seconds. Alex spoke for 1 minute and 39 seconds. Paul, you spoke for 1 minute and 32 seconds. And Jubilee, 1 minute and 2 seconds.
Let's have another round of applause for everyone who responded to the table topics. Awesome job, guys. And I want to give this meeting over to Mr. Alex Dahlstrom, our general evaluator. Oh, no, you get to vote first. I'm sorry. Everyone vote for your favorite table topics person. And now we can go to Alex Dahlstrom. Thank you very much, Alex. Take it away.
Yes, make sure to vote. Your vote counts is very important. So send that to Mr. John or write it on the thing. All right, so now we've gone through the speeches and the improv. So now it's time for the feedback part of our meeting. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first evaluator, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's Lee evaluating speech, our first speaker, Jubilee. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh, yes, it must be awesome.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Jubilee. Wow. You showed awesome awareness of your audience, being very comfortable in front of the audience just by coming up here and being relaxed. I don't know if you felt relaxed, but you sure appeared relaxed, and that is great. I want to talk to you about what I heard and I saw and I felt, both some really good things and then some opportunities in those three areas, okay? First, you had good inflection variety. That was superb. You had excellent volume. It was not hard to hear you at all. What I saw was a great smile. Came up here smiling. That will identify you with the audience quicker than anything else in the world. I saw you begin to use gestures, and that was great. And I noticed from time to time, you looked up and you made eye contact with people in the room. But sometimes you look down to make that eye contact. We'll talk about that in a minute. I love the passion with which you spoke about what you have done and are doing, both the challenges and the things that you love to do. So what are some areas that you can take this even to greater heights? First of all, I would suggest some use of pauses. Just stop at the end of a thought and let people absorb what you just said, or make them anticipate what you're about to say. One of the other opportunities is you used the expression kinda at one point, which is just trying to keep appropriate grammar whenever you're talking. One of the things that I saw was you started to use gestures, but you used the same gesture over and over and you started doing this. And that became a repetitive gesture that you want to try to avoid, because people will start to watch that and they won't be watching everything else that you're doing. So just drop your hands to the side if you don't have a gesture. And when you do, bring them up and make that big gesture. In Toastmasters, one of the things you'll learn is being able to look at the audience and then begin to move toward them as you're making a point. And then when you get ready to make another point, come over here and use your position in the speaking area to mark the different points you're making in your speech. You had excellent responses to questions. Your listening skills were superb, and great observation of the time requirements. Mr. General Evaluator. Who's the General Evaluator? Is that Alex?
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble pushing the button, but well done, sir. Now we have our next evaluator, which once again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but on this email I've got, so wait, is John Abercrombie not on?
That's great. He's here.
He's there in person. In the flesh, John Abercrombie, you are up next. Take it away, sir.
Fellow Toastmasters and our distinguished guest. It makes my heart light to see people come before us and join us and maybe help us as we try to help you. My outlook on life, I think, is sanguine. But many people think that I'm just out there, somewhere else. And no, my famous cream of mushroom soup is not made with penicillin. More or less along the lines of cremini or shiitake or morels or some of the others. But as I watched the Riddler give his speech, one of the things that he had asked me about was movement. And he did move and use some of the stage. But we all know about some of his latent talents. And that is the use of voices and the ability to go into different characters. And I think some of that could have come out. Not the more humorous of the acknowledgements, but I think there could have been a stark contrast between the good and the evil. And I'm old, so I don't move as fluidly as he does. At 28,232 days old, you think that I would be a fossil and not able to move at all. But I think we see some of the polish that takes place and some of the skill that has been demonstrated. Everyone here tonight would be top notch, and I think would be a winner in any club, in anybody's eyes. But I admire what he has done in terms of bringing current events to us. He's enthusiastic about his class because he is telling us about things that he has learned today. And being able to share that makes a very good, current, relevant topic. But I think in terms of the movement, which is the thing that he had asked me to do, that he could have been more stark in those movements that would have added to it. The humor out, because this was a very serious subject. But I think we all see the ability that we have as a combined group to help others and ourselves excel. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, John. And I love that you declared your age in days, which I just realized I'm 10,018 days old. So that's amazing, amazing wisdom, good sir, as always, in many ways. So I believe our third and final evaluator, just from some corrections here, since John McKinney is out, is Paul Camp evaluating Lee. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Alex. I have the honor of evaluating Lee. I'm originally from New York. And as a New Yorker living in South Carolina for the last 23 years, I had to adopt and adapt some of my speech, the way I talk, the manner in which I talk, my gestures. If I were to go to New York, what happens to me is I start saying things like, Mingy, are you kidding me? And we get a little closer. We probably swear more. We probably use a little more sarcasm, a little more cutting edge humor. Living in South Carolina, I learned, which is a leadership trait, you learn how to connect more easily with others. You step back a little bit, you open up your body language. I probably talk slower now. And in his speech, Lee gave us the nugget of wisdom that everyone's looking for in leadership training, yet he gave it to us very succinctly. He described for us what success was, and it's all about connection. And in his own inimitable style, I can't imagine anybody being more eloquent than Lee in delivering this simple message
And he did it by, in typical Lee fashion, highlighting points with his body language very effectively, the modulation of his voice and his hand gestures. When he talked about someone, he would move toward them, mention them by name, look them in the eye. All the trademark Lee speech tactics that we've seen for so long, and he does so well. And I couldn't help, as he was speaking, thinking about, he looked like a famous Hollywood director, and we were all actors in his class, just trying to learn from the master. So it's just very fun. Lee just draws you in. So again, he gave us the secret, which was connection through listening, acknowledging others, forming that team cohesion. And we have to do it among people from all over the world. And what's true about people all over the world, and if I can draw from my corporate life, I've lived in Argentina, I've lived in Afghanistan. And one thing, I had to speak different languages at times, but one thing that's always true, people want to be heard and they want to be acknowledged. And Lee shared his own experience and how he came to those conclusions in a very eloquent manner. Try as I might, I would challenge my audience to see how he might challenge himself further. The only thing I was left wanting was more examples, personal life examples from Lee about his leadership experience. So Lee, thank you very much for a wonderful speech. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was wonderful. So, one sec. Man, I lost my place here. I believe we need a timers report.
Grammarian's report is next.
Okay, grammarian's report. Cheryl, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Alex. We did a fantastic job tonight, especially using the word of the day. And I want to apologize for not pronouncing it correctly. I said sanguine, and the correct pronunciation is sanguine. And I lost count. I had like 8, and then when Bernie came up and you structured the table topics around the word of the day, that was great, and you used it several times. So I'm glad that all worked out. I heard a few uhs, a few you knows, one like, a couple of ands, and a couple of ums. But overall, everyone did a fantastic job. A couple of phrases that I heard that was interesting was just Bernie of good humor. I like that. And again, John Abercrombie, aging yourself, that you're so old you should be a fossil. I thought that was cute. I might use that one in class this week. The only other thing that I wanted to add was I did a little bit of quick Google search and let Bearcat know. I loved your quote that you shared with us. And I believe the quote is, "No one can make you feel inferior without your permission." Is that correct? I've heard of that. So I did a quick Google search, and that is from Eleanor Roosevelt. So I just wanted to tell you who said the quote. So everyone did a great job, and I'll turn it back over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Cheryl. We really appreciate your wisdom as always. So now it's time for a timers report. Greg.
Thank you, Alex. Lee spoke for 3 minutes and 13 seconds. John spoke for 2 minutes and 56 seconds. And Paul Camp spoke for 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Thank you, Alex.
Great. So we all qualified. That's good to hear. So now, as you guys are sending your final votes to Mr. John Frey, either on paper if you're there, or via chat if you're on Zoom, I will give you guys my general evaluation of this meeting. So first and foremost, where we always like to start is big picture. Did we get here and have the meeting? Box checked, meeting kept. Did it start on time? Yes, as always, very punctual, very important. Did we have amazing speeches as always? Oh, absolutely. And we had some new faces in here too. We had guests. I think this is the most guests we've had since back in probably November. I would say November or October, since the Tates showed up first time. That was like a 2 or 3 person thing with guests. But anyway, everyone was on point. The table topics, Bernie, that's probably one of the best table topic explanations I've had going into the questions. I feel like most of the time we prepare for table topics as we just have a few one-liner questions and there isn't so much exposition. But Bernie, you really had good expositions for everyone, drew us in and went along perfect with the theme, which back to the theme, Bearcat. I love that we're talking about personal development. I was mentioning to somebody that this meeting was like a prayer answered for me, honestly. I almost was going to be there in person, but I'm happy to be joining virtually because it was just so phenomenal. And then ending with the evaluations, I mean, I was blown away. Everyone had really good pieces of insight on 3 really good speeches. Like what we always talk about when we're new to Toastmasters is when you have to do evaluation, sometimes that's the hardest thing out there because there's so many good speakers in this club. Like I had to talk with John McKinney a few times before I had to evaluate Lee and Cheryl a few times. So I'm like, what do I do? They were perfect. And you want to, of course, give things to work on, which all the evaluators did a great job on. And then Cheryl, of course, with the Grammarian's Report. I love the word of the day. And as we wrap up, yeah, just great time. I love you guys. This is such a great group. And I feel like we're all iron sharpening iron, getting better each week that we join and partake in some awesome speeches and awesome evaluations. So now I'm going to hand it back to the man of the hour, the Toastmaster today, Mr. Bearcat Tolcha, to close us out.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Okay. We have a lot of guests tonight. So I'm going to ask for your feedback. If you have, you should have, I guess. Tell us, give us your feedback about our meeting. I would like to start, sorry, I didn't catch her name, but I haven't heard from her in the meeting. Jubilee had a speech, but she already know it, but
Haley, I believe that it's Randy's friend Haley.
Haley, oh yes, Haley.
Tell us what you
Sorry
thought
for
about
that.
It
Please
was
share
good.
us your feedback.
It was good. It was good to see different speech, what the word is, different ways to give to speak and stuff. I can't remember the word, but it was good to see the different ways of doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Haley. I think Paul and David are not new guests, but if you have any feedback, please.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm so glad to be back. You know, what is amazing, I think, is when you come back to something, well, to Toastmasters, everything that you spoke about this evening, overall, the personal development, the great thing, I love personal development, big part of my life. So that was important. Then you getting into coaching. I loved your speech. You had a great topic. I mean, I love thinking about deeper things myself, and I love the way that you delivered it, and your evaluation was on point too. But that's not an easy topic to talk about, but I can tell you were passionate about it, and it flowed very nicely. And you didn't really have many notes. And so I think I would keep going on that track, and you'll just get more and more powerful with your speaking. And it's exciting though. And then what was our third speech? Because I liked it too. Yeah. And then Lee, how can I forget Lee? talking about connections and the power of connections, it's something with, I'm the chapter coordinator for a networking group, and I'm thinking about what am I going to talk about? And I said, I'm going to talk about connections and how to make stronger connections. So it's amazing how everything comes together, being around people that, like someone said, maybe Alex earlier, iron sharpening iron. And so it's great to be here this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, David. You do give out energy. I love your energy. Okay, Paul, if you have.
Well, I'll just add this to what Daniel so eloquently said. It's so cool and awesome to be in the company of really authentic, smart, warm people. And while I didn't forget it, I forgot. It's like going into a warm, comfortable bath. It's just wow. I really just wanted to sit here and just absorb everybody tonight. And I would have been fine not saying one word and just absorbing everyone's intelligence and their comments. And of course, I love the subject matter, personal development, and Bearcat, the Eleanor Roosevelt quote. If there were a Mount Rushmore of courageous women, Eleanor Roosevelt would be up there. That quote, which she said, you talk about bullying, that's just priceless, that quote for Eleanor Roosevelt. She knew about bullying, and so that I love that. I just love getting reacquainted with all my old friends, meeting new friends, Randy, Haley. So can't say enough good stuff. Thank you, Bearcat.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, do we have any announcements? I'm looking at you, Lee.
So yes, I'm going to ask Bernie if he'll share first of all, share the agenda for next week and go down to the notes section of that agenda. So next week, we're not going to meet in person. Sorry, Paul and Daniel. We're having, so let me tell you why. We're going to have our club level contest next week for humorous speech and international speech. And if you're an active member of the club by next week and you want to compete, you're welcome to do that. But all the contests above the club level have to be done via Zoom. And so we thought it better to do our club contest via Zoom to give everybody a feel for what it's like doing that through your camera rather than here in person. So we're going to do our meetings next week via Zoom only. So if you come here, Bernie might be here because he might choose to use this to do his contest speech, but it won't be for the meeting. But we'll send out the information about the meeting. It'll have the Zoom link. And even though I know you despise Zoom, I hope Daniel and
I
Paul.
probably used the wrong word. I'll call it all the time.
I hope you'll join us on there, and as well, Haley and Jubilee as well. So you see on the screen our lineup for our contest next week. Humorous speech contestants at this point in time are Randy Riddle, John Abercrombie, Bernie Holiday, John Frey, Bearcat told you. That was just in the order they told me they were going to compete. Not even after that. And international speech contestants right now are John Abercrombie, LaShane Goins, and Bernie Holiday. Is there anybody else who wants to compete that we don't have your name? Of course, you have to be an active member of the club to do that.
For the humorous speech?
So you want to do a humorous speech, sir?
Yes, sir. Why not?
Alex is on for humorous. I'll add you to the list.
Aren't you required to be funny to do this?
So Daniel,
I'm not usually funny, so I feel like it'd be a good way to grow.
So we'll add Alex as a humorous speech contestant. Anyone else before we go further? Okay. So Greg Allen will be our contest master. I will serve as the chief judge. Cheryl will be our timer and ballot counter to the extent we need a ballot counter. we're going to do something a little variation on how Toastmasters normally does it in terms of judging. We could try to go out and get some non-club members to come in and judge, but it's hard. And so what we're going to do, so that those of you who are competing, as well as those who aren't, everybody who's attending the meeting is going to be a judge. We're going to send the judges form to you. You'll use that judges form to score each person who speaks, even yourself. You score yourself. Each person who speaks, and it totals up. If you gave everybody a perfect score on everything, they'd get 100. Okay, but you'll see it on the judges form. It's easy, and I'll send it out early this week so you'll have it. You can get familiar with it. You'll score everybody in each category, and then you'll come up with their total. And so the person that gets the highest total will be your vote for first place. The person who gets the second highest vote total will be your vote for second place. And the person who gets the third highest total will be your vote for third place. We will send either a survey over Zoom or get you to respond in a private chat message to me who your first place, second place, and third place contestants are. I will tally those up, and I might, if I have any concerns, I might tie Cheryl in so we can collaborate on what we report. Hopefully it'll be clear and there won't be any difficulties with that. But that's how we're going to do judging, which is, once again, that's different than how the club contest, how the contest rule book says it's done, but they give clubs some latitude to how they do that. I mean, clubs don't even have to have a contest. We could just draw names for who's going to go compete, but we're not going to do that. We're going to give you a chance to do your speech so that when you go to the area level contest and you compete against the other two clubs here in Spartanburg, you're going to blow them away because you'll have experience with it. I'm counting on that. So Bernie, well, before Bernie, you can go ahead and go to the next, to the show just the agenda for next week. And we'll go over that real quick. But one of the things I wanted to do is tell you that on the home page of the club website, if you want to read about it, is information about how to compete, about what the speech needs to be. Whether you're doing international speech or humorous speech, they're 5 to 7 minutes. If you speak less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds or more than 7 minutes and 30 seconds, you will be disqualified. The speeches for both have to be primarily original speeches with you. They can't be material you take from other places. Up to 30% of the material can be quoted material, but you must give credit if you use information from somebody else to share in your speech. You cannot say anything about what somebody else used in their speech. That will disqualify you. That was something I didn't know till I studied the rule book a little closer. But our area level contest, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, our area level contest is going to be on Saturday, March the 12th. So the two winners from our contest will move on to the area level. And on Saturday, March the 12th at 9 a.m. via Zoom, we'll have both the humorous and international speech contests. That's the area level. The division level contest is going to be Saturday, April the 2nd at 9 a.m. Once again, both the humorous and international speech contests. So from the club level, we'll move 2 up to area to compete. The top 2 at the area will move to division to compete. The top 1 in each speech contest will move up to the district contest to compete in Myrtle Beach the end of April when we have our district conference. However, even though we're having the district conference in Myrtle Beach, it's going to be a hybrid conference, and the contest itself will be 100% virtual. You won't be on a stage in front of people. You'll be doing it to a camera.
So if you go to the conference and you're in the contest, you're going to have to go back to your room to do your speech. So make sure if that happens, make sure your laptop doesn't have some kind of crazy security that won't let you get on a hotel Wi-Fi.
I'd bring 2 or 3 ways you can connect to Zoom to do it if you can.
Yeah, like a computer or an iPad and a phone or something.
Yeah.
just so that if you have difficulty, you've got a fallback position.
Mhm.
Any questions about contests before we go any further?
What about props? Can you use them?
You may use props. I would suggest you read the rule book, see if you see anything in there that has any restriction around there. Props are permitted though. You cannot use a PowerPoint presentation.
A couple of things last year that the judges were kind of nitpicky on as far as the virtual contest. A couple of the speakers did things that you would only do on Zoom. And so they kind of got discredited for that. So keep that in mind. That,
Like blocking the camera.
like blocking it. One of the speakers he would make a point, and put his hand up, like blocking the camera.
Mhm.
It was a great speech. You can go on YouTube and watch the speech. It's a great speech.
Mhm.
But you couldn't emulate that if you were on stage.
Right.
Well, you
And
watch
that
the
was-
entire training presentation on District 58's
Right.
YouTube page, and that'll give you a lot of insight into how these contests are put together and how they're judged.
Other questions about contest? Hearing none, let's talk about next week, the week after agenda. So next week is going to be all contest. We're going to gather at 6:30, not 7 o'clock. And when I say 6:30, that's not giving us 15 minutes leeway, Paul. We'll start at 6:30 and we're going to start with having some instruction and some briefing for the contestants primarily, because everybody's going to be a judge. So we'll start with briefings right after we open the meeting up, and then we'll go into the contest proper. I think the contest proper starts at 7. So if you join us at 7, we're already going to be underway. We'll have already drawn for a speaking order or selected speaking order in some way and going from there. So we've got a number of contestants, so we're going to have to keep it moving. 7-minute speeches, we got 6, 9, 9 times 7, 63 plus time in between. So we've got a good solid hour and a half of speeches. And then we've got to total the results. Hopefully we can be done in an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. If we start at 6:30, hopefully we can be done by 8:30 anyway. So please plan to join us at 6:30 next week. Any questions about that? So just so you can be thinking about it, in the meantime, the following week, the wonderful John Frey with his new computer by then, hopefully, will be our Toastmaster of the day. Is John Frey still online? I don't know if I see him up there or not. But John Frey will be our Toastmaster of the day in 2 weeks. I will be the general evaluator. Bernie, if you'll scroll it down, Bernie will be the grammarian, and Andre, so you see who's down. So for speakers, we have Alex, Greg, and Bearcat. And evaluators are John Abercrombie. Lord, you're doing a lot of evaluating these days. John McKinney and LaShane Goins. So we'll look forward to a great meeting the week after next. We'll look forward to a fabulous contest next week. Mr. Toastmaster, I'll turn it to you to adjourn.
Right. Thank you, Lee. Let's hear about our award winners. Mr. Vote Counter.
Thank you, Bearcat. Appreciate that. Best speaker tonight is our Miss Jubilee. I hope I pronounced that. Congratulations. Enjoyed your first speech. Best table topic, Mr. Paul Camp. And our best evaluator is Mr. John Abercrombie. And I'll turn it back over to you, Bearcat.
Thank you, John.
Sure.
Thank you.
So John and Paul and Jubilee, we need to come up here so Bernie can get a snapshot.
Paul, come on up and smile for the camera.
What's that? Get your picture made.
Okay.
Just stand right there.
Yep.
Looking
Thank
where?
you.
Now, this is like a rose between two thorns.
I couldn't have said that.
Look at the camera.
Everybody look at the smile at the camera for a second and you're all done. Thank you very much.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. With this, I will adjourn the meeting.